Hi, I'm Tom Simmons, and today I'm going to be cooking a beautiful Welsh ox cheek stew with some lovely Welsh Cheddar Dumplings. So the ingredients for this dish, here we have some beautiful Welsh ox cheeks. So I have my pan on with some oil getting hot, and now we're just going to season this ox cheek, cracked black pepper and some salt. Give it a generous seasoning. And then lastly, I have just some plain flour here. You don't have to do this, it's optional, but it helps thicken the stew. So you're literally just chucking them in the flour. Give them a good coating. And then back out onto the tray. Okay, so we begin by colouring this ox cheek. You can use a casserole pot or a saucepan, whichever you've got at home really. You just be careful when you're doing this. Okay, and you just want to get a nice golden brown colouring on these. It should take a couple of minutes. Everything is going into this pot, so it's important you don't burn anything. Turn it over, get some colour on the other side, and then we'll take that out and add it back to it later. Okay, once you're happy with the colour, you can you just set that to one side. A little bit more oil back to the pan. And begin with your pancetta. Beautiful smoked pancetta. The aim is to get nice colour on everything, deep flavour to everything. You've got a nice colour on the pancetta now, and now you can start adding onions. And give it a minute or so, let them cook out. And then celery and the carrots. So like I said, really straightforward. Okay, once the carrots, onions and celery have had a couple of minutes and are starting to soften, you can add the garlic. You want to add this last because it doesn't taste very pleasant if it burns. So stick that in last thing. Followed by the tomato puree. Again, really important that you cook this tomato puree out. Give that 3 or 4 minutes with the tomato puree in and keep stirring it every so often. And once that's cooked out, you add some red wine. Probably about 350 ml. And let that cook right down. Probably 2/3, cook it 2/3 of the way down, so you're just left with a little bit at the bottom. While you've got the red wine reducing, that takes 5 to 10 minutes. The best thing to do is to start your dumplings. So we've got some flour, some suet. You can use vegetable suet or beef suet, whichever you prefer. And some Welsh cheese. We use Black Bomber. It's got a nice kick to it. And some fresh tarragon. Again, you can use any herb you want really. Rosemary, thyme, parsley. Add that. And what you want to do now is you just add the water bit by bit. And you just add the water until the dough starts coming away from the bowl. You don't want it too wet. And just finish with a good pinch of salt. And And there you have it, really straightforward. So you have your dumpling dough here, and all you're doing now is you just want to break it up. Probably just slightly smaller than a golf ball size. You should get about 12 balls. Make sure they're all roughly the same size. And then these will just go onto the beef casserole in the oven for 20-25 minutes. Right, so as you can see now that we've reduced the red wine down almost to a nice shiny syrup. Just finished by adding fresh thyme, bay leaves, and the chicken stock. You can use white or brown. Finish by just adding the ox cheek back to it. Coming back to why we use Welsh beef, I think, you know, having been lucky enough to grow up in Wales and see, you know, you can see how the cows are reared and how well they're looked after. You know, it just makes sense to me to use such a beautiful product that's on our doorstep. Using ox cheek, I think, you know, is a little bit different. Maybe some people don't know as much of it. It's packed full of flavour. It's super tender when it's cooked for a long time. And it's, you know, it's nice to use something other than, you know, short rib or just your standard stewing beef. So yeah, give it a go, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. We've added the dumplings onto the beef stew, placed in the oven for about 20-25 minutes. Okay, so the beef stew is now ready. It's had the dumplings on in the oven for about 20-25 minutes. Taken that out, and it's now ready to serve. So all you do, scoop the dumplings off the top. 2 to 3 dumplings per person, depending on how hungry you are. And no messing, just a nice, simple Welsh ox cheek stew.